Hi, I want to talk to you about another painting I did. This painting takes place in downtown Indianapolis, and there's some things that I'm trying to portray in the painting. One of them has to do with what you actually see rather than what you think you see. A lot of people, when they think of painting something or looking at something, they think that there are certain colors involved. And for example, if you ask most people to go ahead and paint something like a tree, what they'll do is they'll paint the trunk brown. That's a trunk of a tree is brown, they think, so they get a brown crayon or brown paint or whatever, and they paint it brown. But a lot of times if you look outside at a tree trunk, it might look gray, or if it's in shadow, it might look black. So it just, we have in our minds what we think it looks like. And so the same thing is happening here. A lot of people think when you're looking at a road, it's automatically black because it's asphalt, or if you look at a sidewalk, it's gray. But this painting takes place during the noon hour when the sun is directly above, shining down. And if you're looking outside in a situation like that, where the sun's shining straight down, you're more likely to see it this color. So here's a sidewalk, it looks kind of white. Same thing over here, you've got white on the road. So this all looks kind of white because that sunlight is hitting it strongly. So that's one thing. So these two things plus the sky all kind of match. And that's not normally what you'd think of, but that's actually what you would see. Now the other thing I'm trying to portray is perspective, and perspective is what gives depth to a painting, so you feel like you're looking up into it, like you could actually walk into the painting. There are two types of perspective. One is linear perspective and the other one is atmospheric perspective. Now with linear perspective, we have basically a point right here where we look. It's called a vanishing point. If you're standing here looking straight in, let's say this is where your viewpoint would end, right here at the vanishing point. And with the vanishing point, there are lines that go up to it. So for example, here's a line from this side of the sidewalk. It comes up to that vanishing point, and then it kind of, you leave that at that point, it turns up. You have this line here, and so forth. You go up, you've got this one here. And then if you swing it around this way, here's the edge of the sidewalk. Here's where the car is going, and like that. So with all those lines, you're going up in here. You've got this line here, and this line here, so that the sidewalk is wider here and it's narrow up there. And so that's the way it looks as you're walking up into it. So that's your linear perspective. Now the other type of perspective is called atmospheric perspective. Now with the atmospheric perspective, there are other things that give it that feeling of depth that you go into it. One is that the things that are closer to you are bigger. You draw this big here, this person is this big, the person here is this big. And so with that, it makes it feel like this person is closer to us than this one. Well, at the same time, this person here is only this big. So this big versus this big makes it feel like you're looking way back to that person. Another thing is things that are closer up, you see in a lot more detail. For example, you see a face here, but back in here, there are no faces. It kind of blends, or you can't see it anymore. It's kind of like with these garbage cans. Now, in Indianapolis, a lot of times they'll host the Big Ten basketball tournament or the Final Four basketball tournament. And when they do, they put these things over the top of the garbage cans with basketball nets and a basketball. So this one, you can see the detail a lot closer, and this one further back, it kind of fades. All right. So that's the two things that give it depth, the atmospheric perspective and linear perspective, so it feels like you can look right in it. and the whole painting isn't just flat and everything's up here together. Now, other things I'd like to mention are, I want to talk to you a little bit about, I have cars, and of course cars close by and cars further back. And like I talked about with the atmospheric perspective, the cars close have some detail on them, whereas if you go back to these cars back here, there's hardly anything there, but your mind puts it all together. And then you have the shapes of colors, and that's what I've kind of done. Like here's a van, it has some shapes that are darker, which are the windows, and panels and things like that. Then I have reflections in the window. So in the window, I'm reflecting some things like this man leaning against a light post. Well, here he is right here. I have this lady right here. Here she is. I have the blue car here, the blue car here. And so they're reflecting. And then up above on the side of the building where it says Flag Star, this is Flag Star Bank. This area up in here is with some kind of polished granite or marble, and it's reflecting. So you see reflections on here that are whatever's across the street over here. You wouldn't be able to see it because it's not in the picture, but you can see these reflections. Now I've got some other things on here just to mention. I've got a clock right up in here, and stoplights, the windows across the street, just some detail. As you get further back, it just blends. I have some canopies here and looking up the road. With that information as a starting point, I'm going to now zoom in so you can get an idea of what things look like close up. If you look into the background there, you can see those cars back there, and notice they're just some splashes of paint, some lines of paint. But then as you get in a little closer, the cars have a little more detail on them, like this car here. Then also you notice the reflections. They come over into the window. Here's the man leaning on the pole. Here's the car. And that's kind of what it looks like looking into the mirror. And then with the people, here, this person here, now the faces aren't really detailed because they're still further back, but then there's that person, here's a face back here, and then as you go further back, you can see there's just not any detail in their faces. We just have the shapes, and that's how that goes. You notice that garbage can versus this one that has a little more detail. And then up here we have some stoplights. There's a clock back there. We have some windows that are over across the street. Now over here we have the side of the bank. And I told you how there's it's shiny glass, and then on the side, of course, you've got the sign that's on it, but you can see the reflections on the side. And then, of course, you've got the people, you've got the shadows on the ground, and that gives you kind of a feeling for what the painting looks like. I hope you've enjoyed looking at this painting, and I hope it gives you some ideas for paintings that you might do or paintings that you might look at. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good day.